Hello chess friends and welcome to Jozarov's chess channel and welcome to the Magnus Carlsen Chess Tour finals in 2020. We are now in the second day of the match game between the world champion Magnus Carlsen and Hikaru Nakamura. Hikaru won the game yesterday, so the first match game, as I said, the finals is set up like this. We have 7 match games on 7 days. The winner of the match game will be, of course, the first one who gets 4 points, 4 match game points. And this is now a huge result for Hikaru because he played some great chess. I'm not sure if Magnus Carlsen was better in the match game because Hikaru played really good, and he played also a very important thing in chess. It's also the time control. He wasn't in time trouble in any of these games, so that's a very important segment when you play 15 plus 10 seconds like it's here in this super final. So again, I wanted to show you another great game from the second day now, and again the Vienna variation was played of the Queen's Gambit declined, and Magnus showed that he has some troubles against this opening, and yesterday he tried a theoretical novelty, but today he'll face again the Vienna in the first game, and it's something that I think Hikaru Nakamura has prepared very well. I'm not sure if Magnus handles this opening very nicely because he has again some troubles even with the white pieces. So great opening prep here by Hikaru, but let's check out now what happens. So we are now in the round 1 and fight. So Magnus opens with d4. We have knight to f6, c4, e6, knight to f3. Again, I'm pointing out this is the so-called counter Nimzo Indian setup. We are not allowing some pinning ideas with bishop to b4. Then we don't have to play knight to c3 or bishop to d2. We can play knight to d2. Yesterday I have explained it also in the first game between Magnus Carlsen, which again Magnus played with the white pieces. So d5, knight to c3. We have the Queen's Gambit decline. Again, d takes c4. So this is a very often played line now. In the game, Magnus plays this aggressive e4. There are, of course, main lines with the move bishop to b4, in which white will take bishop takes c4, will sacrifice the pawn for the initiative. But here again, Hikaru plays the move b5. So what white doesn't want to do is, of course, to play knight to b5. Then knight to e4 will happen. So that's why e5. But there is a huge difference between e4 and e5 now. The position is blocked a little bit further in the center because now Hikaru can play on this very nice knight outpost on d5. And the problem is that this knight cannot be challenged because you don't have any more the pawns on the c and e4. So you cannot kick away the knight. So after the move knight to b5, we have knight to b6, protecting this c4 pawn. This is still main line, and now a4. So yesterday Magnus tried the move a3. Now he tries a4. In some occasions you see that white will continue to push the pawn a5. This is an often played line, but there is one problem about this line which I don't like. Again, I'm pointing out, please watch the game between Ding Liren and Jan Krzysztof Duda. In that game, bishop to e2 was played, knight to c6, castling, bishop to e7, and queen to d2. I really like this line here by Ding. I've talked about it yesterday also, but repetition, we say, is the mother of learning. So that's why I really wanted to show you again this great novelty that that Ding Liren showed us. So queen to d2. So here after the move a4, okay, you have fixed the knight, you have attacking possibilities, but the main problem of this setup is that you leave also some spaces behind. There are tactical targets here, the weak square on b3, the weak square on d3 also. So advancing pawns is of course necessary in the chess game, but when you advance pawns, you leave, as I said, also spaces behind. So risky again. Opening line here by Magnus. We have queen to d7, played by Hikaru, bishop to e2, and now knight to c6, castling. In yesterday, Magnus didn't castle. He played a very aggressive h4. Now castling. After knight to f5, we have knight to g5. Again, a risky move by Magnus. I'm not sure if that's part of his opening preparation at home, but this move knight to g5 breaks a little bit the main principles in chess, which says you shouldn't play twice with the same piece in the opening. A good line can be, maybe there is of course this threat knight to b3. As I said, we have advanced the pawn, we cannot protect the b3 anymore, but maybe rook to a2 after something like knight to b3, bishop to e3. And we have now a compact position. Still, this knight is of course a very dangerous one, but there are now tactical threats with bishop takes c4, and after knight takes c4 we can play queen to b3. So rook to a2 is, I think, a good move here, but in the game knight to g5 was played, and now we have h6. knight to e4, and we have now come we've come now to a really weird moment in which I've analyzed this line now. If knight to b3 happens, it seems that here white has troubles, but there is a great line. Probably this is the line that Magnus has prepared. It's the move bishop to c4, sacrificing the rook. After knight to a1, here comes a really great tactical shot, knight to d6. If you take c takes d6, then you get bishop to b5. This is probably Magnus opening prep. You lose the queen. What you could do, maybe after the move knight to d6, is king to d8, but then again bishop to b5 anyway, c6, and now bishop to d3. And you could try maybe knight to d5 here, but I think bishop to d2, and we'll grab the knight. The king is in the center, and we have now a very nice control here. We can use also the c5 square in order to kick away the queen. So this was really a tricky opening line that Magnus has prepared here with the nice rook sacrifice. And the cool part is that, of course, Hikaru, as I said, he has a great preparation, probably also in this Vienna variation. He didn't fall for this. He played the normal bishop to b7. As I said, I asked myself this question, why Black didn't play here the move knight to b3, but you saw the tactical problem. So it's already a tense game. You see pawns are all over the board. Really a tense game so far. So knight to c5 played by Magnus. Of course, you have to take bishop to c5. You don't want to leave this knight like this on a very active square. After d takes c5, we have knight to d5. Trading off the queens is maybe a possibility. Rook to d1, knight to d5, but still maybe knight to c3 can happen. We can trade off more knights. So it's playable for both sides, but here in the game, knight to d5. And again, I'm pointing out this idea of the Vienna variation is to fix the knight after the move e4, e5, e4, e5. In the beginning, you see we have always the opportunity to fix the position in the center. Nothing can happen. There is no tension in the center because this knight is a very, very nice outpost here. And what to do here from white's perspective? In the game, Magnus tried rook to a3, which is a good move, of course, with some ideas to maneuver the rook on g3. We have a6, knight to d4, and we have now knight to e7. Here, queen to d2. Finally, this idea, which I said Ding Liren introduced to us, this queen to d2 idea with ideas to sneak in with the queen to f4, still stay with our very nice advanced pawn on e5, because in these types of setups, I've mentioned that also yesterday in this analyzed game, that our main strength, our main positional strength is this advanced pawn on e5. It creates really some enormous pressure here because it restricts really the minor piece ability of blacks. So in the game, Hikaru played the move queen to d5, and Magnus spent here really some time in order to make something happen because, of course, the c5 pawn is hanging. There's also this checkmate threat. In the game, Magnus tried rook to g3, and there is this problem about this rook to g3 idea. I think that Magnus, before, after the move queen to d5, here rook to g3, and now queen to c5, he should have played here probably queen to f4. It's again sort of a move which activates the queen, again with some great counter-attack possibilities. g5 is not a possibility here because you get queen to f6. After something like knight to d5, here queen to h4 is also a possibility preventing black from castling. Queen to e7, knight, queen takes e7, here queen to e7, and I think we can simply try to attack this knight, go after the c4 pawn, maybe something like rook to c3. It could be a good game for the bishops. But in the game, Magnus, after the move queen takes c5, he tried again a risky idea. He played the move b4, and this is really again sort of a sacrifice. After c takes b3, Magnus played bishop to a3, which was a huge blunder. A better idea is knight takes b3, knight takes b3, rook takes b3, maybe queen to d5. Here queen takes d5, bishop to d5, rook to c3 is a choice, and after c6, bishop to a3. I think this is playable for white because although down a pawn, it's a huge activity here for the bishops. We can still improve the position of this rook, rook to b1, get use of this open file. So Black would lack here in development, so you see this knight is a little bit overloaded. After something like knight to g6, we can simply play f4, hang on to our pawn on e5, still with opportunities to really activate our rooks. It's a good position for the bishops, as I said. But Magnus plays this bishop to a3, and yet he didn't take the pawn on b3, and the evaluation is now winning for Black. Incredible blunder, because after queen to a3, queen to a5, okay, we have traded off some more material, but now after bishop to d5, a great move by Hikaru. He fixes simply the position. Here rook takes g7, and now c5. So attacking the knight, if you retreat with the knight somewhere, then of course this pawn will simply move further, and it's a losing game for white. So that's why Magnus tried a counterattack with bishop to h5, but now Hikaru takes simply the pawn, c takes d5, d4, and after rook to f7, we have king to d7. So although this king is now in the center, you see this knight is a very nice protective piece. The bishop is fixed here, is supported by this pawn on e6. This is still a pawn which we can advance, and still this pass pawn on the b file is also something that Magnus Carlsen has to take care of. So bishop to g4, again a counterattack possibility by white, but if you put this position into an engine, it's simply winning for Black, because Hikaru plays really an active game. King to c6, we have bishop to e6, bishop to e6, another sacrifice, rook to f6, and now king to d7. Here Magnus counterattacks with queen to b6, but now bishop to d5. Everything is glued together. This knight and the bishop and the queen are playing really an important defensive role here in the game. Rook to d6, we have king to e8, and now Magnus takes this bishop on d5, knight to d5, and here Magnus probably hoped for a perpetual. Hikaru in the first play didn't find the best continuation, but after the second time, queen to c6, now he finally played king to f5. After queen to d5, we have now a new position in which, of course, Black could face some perpetual checks. Has, of course, this extra rook. If Magnus doesn't make it with these perpetuals, then it's of course a lost game. So queen to e7, very important defensive move here by Hikaru. You have to bring back your pieces into the defense of the king, because the king is really centralized here. The king is always vulnerable to some checks. e6, we have king to g6. Now a check by Magnus, king to g7, and now queen to d4. We have king to g8, here queen to g4, and now Hikaru simply protects with the queen, queen to c4, and now simply a nice move, b2. If you try something like e7, it's not a problem, still we can cover. So here in the game, f4 was played by Magnus. He's trying rook to f3, rook to g3, but still you have troubles with this pawn on the b file. Rook to b8, we have queen to e4, and now rook to h7, again a nice protective piece in front of the king. Rook to b1, queen to b7, very nice move here by Hikaru. He wants to, of course, simplify the position, getting into a +1 rook endgame here. Magnus, of course, doesn't want to trade off the pieces because he's down material, but now after rook to c7 in this position, Magnus resigned. There is this simple threat of rook to c1. So I'm not sure what to say. It's a great line that Hikaru is using. It's well prepared in this opening. As I said, Magnus made again this slight inaccuracies, mistakes, blunders. Hikaru uses these moments and wins games very easily. We have to say it like this. I didn't expect this, although I knew that it was going to be a tough game. But I'm not sure what's going on with Magnus in this particular opening line. He should avoid it. You see, Hikaru is literally the master of the Vienna variation. So, okay, I hope that you enjoyed this game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Hikaru has now a comfortable lead even in the second day. If you want to see more games from this tournament, here's the link. You can check out some other games that have been played so far. And if you want to see the best chess games of all time, check out also my best chess games of all time series. And if you like this content, you can also subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.